The stars looked cold and distant in the black space around the human ship called Defiance. Captain Hyun-woo sat in his command chair, watching the endless darkness through the main screen. His ship had been patrolling this empty area of space for 3 months now. It was boring work, but someone had to watch the borders of human space. "Captain," said Navigator Soo-jin from her station, "I'm picking up something strange on long-range sensors." Hyun-woo turned to look at her. Soo-jin was young but very good at her job. She never made mistakes with the ship's sensors. "What kind of strange?" he asked. "Multiple contacts." "Very big ones, coming toward us from the outer rim." Soo-jin pressed some buttons on her control panel. "Captain, there are hundreds of them." The bridge became quiet. Chief Engineer Taeho looked up from his engineering station. Weapons Officer G1 stopped checking her weapon systems. Everyone knew what this meant. No human fleet was that big. No human fleet was coming from that direction. "Put it on the main screen," Hyun-woo said calmly. The view changed. Instead of empty space, they could now see tiny dots of light moving toward them. The computer counted them automatically. 847 ships. All of them were much bigger than the Defiance. "Well," said Taeho with a small smile, "this day just got more interesting." Ji-won checked her weapons one more time. "Captain, should I prepare for battle?" "Not yet," Hyun-woo said. "Let's see what they want first." The alien ships moved closer. Soon they could see them clearly on the screen. The ships were long and dark with strange curves and spikes. They looked like they were built for war. Red lights glowed along their hulls like angry eyes. "Incoming transmission," said Communications Officer Yoon-ho. "They're using basic galactic standard language." "Put it through," Hyun-woo ordered. A deep, harsh voice filled the bridge. "Attention primitive vessel. This is Fleet Commander Zeth Kar of the Catherian Empire. You are in the path of our glorious expansion. Surrender immediately, and your death will be quick." The bridge crew looked at each other. Some of them almost smiled. Taho actually laughed quietly. "Did he just call us primitive?" Ji-won asked. "I think he did," Soo-jin replied. Hyun-woo stood up from his chair. He walked to the center of the bridge. "Open a channel," he told Yoon-ho. "Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Hyun-woo of the United Earthship Defiance. You have entered human space without permission. You have exactly 60 seconds to turn around and leave. If you do not leave, we will consider you hostile." There was silence for a moment. Then the alien voice came back, but now it sounded amused. "Did this primitive just threaten us? Human, do you see our fleet? We have conquered 47 star systems. We have destroyed entire civilizations. Your pathetic little ship is alone against our armada. Surrender now, or we will turn you into space dust." More alien voices joined in, laughing and making threats. They seemed to think this was very funny. Hyun-woo walked back to his chair and sat down. "Taeho, how are our systems?" "All systems running perfectly, Captain. Power at 100%. Shields are ready, weapons are ready. Everything is working fine." "Good. Soo-jin, plot us a course." "Where to, Captain?" "Right toward them." Soo-jin smiled. "Course plotted and ready, Captain." The alien fleet was getting closer now. They had arranged themselves in a battle formation. The biggest ships were in front, with smaller ones behind them. It was the kind of formation designed to scare enemies into giving up. "Captain," Yoon-ho said, "they're sending another message." "Let's hear it." The alien voice was different this time, more serious. "Human vessel, this is your final warning. We are scanning your ship now. We see that you have primitive weapons and weak armor. You cannot possibly fight us. Be smart, surrender, and we might let some of your crew live as slaves." Hyun-woo looked at his watch. 40 seconds left. The alien ships continued moving closer. Some of them were charging their weapons. Red and blue lights began glowing along their hulls. The Defiance looked very small compared to even the smallest alien ship. "Captain," Ji-won said quietly, "their weapons are powering up. Big ones. Those plasma cannons could cut through a moon." "I see them," Hyun-woo replied. 20 seconds left. On the alien flagship, Fleet Commander Zethkar watched the human ship with interest. The humans were not running away. They were not begging for mercy. Their ship was just sitting there in space, waiting. "Commander," said his weapons officer, "the human ship has not raised shields. They're not even trying to defend themselves." "Perhaps they have accepted their fate," Zethkar replied. "Or perhaps they are even more primitive than we thought. Should we destroy them now? No, let the countdown finish. I want to see if they will beg at the last moment. It amuses me." Back on the Defiance, Hyun-woo looked at his crew. They were all calm and ready. These people had been with him for 2 years. They trusted him completely. 10 seconds, he announced. The alien fleet was now close enough that they could see details on the ships. Gun ports were open, missile tubes were loaded. Hundreds of weapons were pointed at the single human ship. 5 seconds. Taeho checked his systems one more time. "All green, Captain." 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Hyun-woo stood up again. Yun-ho opened a channel to the entire alien fleet. "Channel open to all ships, Captain." Hyun-woo's voice was calm and clear. "This is your last chance. Turn around and leave human space. Now, you will not get another warning." The response was immediate. Alien laughter filled the bridge speakers. Then Fleet Commander Zethkar's voice came through. "Foolish human, you had your chance. Now you die. All ships prepare to fire. Show this primitive what happens when someone challenges the Catherian Empire." The alien ships moved into firing positions. Weapon systems finished charging. Targeting computers locked onto the Defiance. 847 ships prepared to destroy one small human vessel. "Captain," Juwon said, "they're about to fire everything they have at us." "I know," Hyun-woo replied. "Are you worried?" Juwon smiled. "Not even a little bit." Sujin laughed. "I almost feel sorry for them." Taeho shook his head. "They have no idea what they're about to face." On the alien flagship, Zethkar raised his hand. "Fire!" 847 ships opened fire at once. Plasma beams, laser cannons, particle weapons, and kinetic missiles all flew toward the Defiance. It was enough firepower to destroy a small planet. The space around the human ship lit up like a star, but something was wrong. The human ship was still there. Not only was it still there, but all the weapons had simply stopped working. Plasma beams faded away. Missiles slowed down and drifted harmlessly past the ship. Energy weapons were absorbed by something invisible. "Impossible, Zethkar," whispered on the Defiance. Ji-won looked at her control panel. "Defensive systems operating at 0.3% capacity, Captain. Should I increase power?" "No need," Hyun-woo said. "I think they got the message." The bridge crew was smiling now. The boring patrol had finally become interesting. And the aliens were about to learn something very important about humans. They were about to learn that sometimes the small ship is not the weak one. Fleet Commander Zethkar stared at his main screen in complete shock. The human ship was still there, floating calmly in space. His entire fleet had just fired enough weapons to destroy a moon, and the small vessel had not even moved. "Report!" Zethkar shouted at his crew. His weapons officer, a tall alien with 4 arms, was pressing buttons frantically. "Commander, our weapons hit the target, but they just stopped working. The plasma beams disappeared. The missiles slowed down and floated away. I don't understand it. Run a full scan of that ship, now." The science officer worked quickly at his station. After a few minutes, he looked up with confusion in his large eyes. "Commander, this is very strange. I cannot scan through their hull. Our sensors bounce off it like it's made of some unknown metal. And there are energy readings inside that ship that make no sense." Zethkar felt something he had not felt in many years. Fear. In all his battles, in all his conquests, nothing like this had ever happened. Weapons always worked. Sensors always worked. This was impossible. "Maybe their shields are just very strong," suggested his second-in-command. "No," the science officer replied. "They're not using shields. Our weapons never hit shields. They hit something else. Something that just absorbed everything we threw at them." On the bridge of the Defiance, the human crew was completely calm. Captain Hyan-Woo sat in his chair, watching the alien fleet on the main screen. The aliens looked confused and scared. "Should we contact them again, Captain?" asked Communications. Officer Yunho, "Not yet. Let them think about what just happened. Sometimes silence teaches better than words." Chief Engineer Taeho was checking his systems. "Captain, our defensive field is working perfectly. Their weapons couldn't even reach our real hull. The energy absorption systems are barely working at all. It was like being hit by toy guns." Navigator Sujin laughed quietly. "I'm reading panic signals from at least 50 of their ships. Some of them are trying to restart their engines." "Let them try," Hyung-woo said. "They'll learn soon enough that leaving won't be as easy as they think." Weapons Officer G1 was studying the alien ships on her targeting computer. "Captain, their ships are old designs. Maybe 50 years behind our current technology. Their weapons use basic plasma and particle beam systems. Their armor is just thick metal plates. They're like ancient warships trying to fight a modern fleet." Ugh. On the alien flagship, Zethkar was trying to understand what had happened. He had been fighting wars for 30 years. He had seen every kind of weapon and defense system in the galaxy. But this was something completely new. "Try again," he ordered. "All ships, fire everything at that human vessel. Full power." "Commander," his weapons officer said carefully, "are you sure? We just fired our full weapons load. Our energy cells need time to recharge." "I don't care. Fire everything we have left." The alien fleet fired again. This time only half their weapons worked, because many ships had used up their energy. The result was the same. All the weapons simply stopped working when they got close to the human ship. Zethkar sat down heavily in his command chair. "This is not possible. No species has technology like this. We have studied all the advanced races in this galaxy. Humans are supposed to be primitive. They only started traveling between stars 100 years ago." His science officer was still working at his station. "Commander, I'm detecting something else. There are more energy signatures in this system, very faint ones. Almost like there are other ships here, but I can't see them." "Ghost readings," Zethkar replied. "Our sensors are confused by whatever the humans are using." The science officer shook his head. "No, Commander. These readings are real. There are definitely other ships in this system, big ones. I think they're hidden somehow." On the Defiance, Captain Hyan-Woo finally decided it was time to talk. "Yun-ho, open a channel to their flagship." "Channel open, Captain." Han-Woo stood up and straightened his uniform. "Fleet Commander Zethkar, this is Captain Hyan-Woo. I believe you wanted to talk." There was a long silence before Zethkar replied. His voice was different now, less angry, more careful. "Human. Captain, what kind of technology are you using? Our weapons should have destroyed your ship." "Your weapons are very impressive," Hyan-Woo said politely. "They would probably work very well against ships from your own time period." "What do you mean, our own time period?" "Commander, your fleet is using technology that we stopped using 20 years ago. Your plasma cannons are Generation 4 systems. We're currently using Generation 12. Your armor is basic metal alloy. Our hull is made from materials that your sensors can't even identify." Zethkar felt his confidence disappearing completely. "Impossible. Our intelligence report said humans were primitive." "Your intelligence was wrong?" Hyan-Woo replied simply. "Very wrong." Sujin looked up from her navigation station. "Captain, I'm detecting movement in their fleet. Some ships are trying to form a retreat formation." "Let them try," Hyan-Woo said. "Taeho, are the field generators ready?" "Ready and waiting, Captain. Should I activate them?" "Not yet. Let's see what they do first." On the alien flagship, Zethkar was giving orders to his fleet. "All ships, prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace. We need to report this to the Empire immediately." His navigation officer worked at his controls, then looked up with worry. "Commander, we have a problem. The hyperspace jump drive is not responding. Something is interfering with our navigation systems." "What do you mean, interfering?" I mean, we can't jump to hyperspace. We're stuck here. Zethkar felt panic rising in his chest. Being trapped in space was every fleet commander's worst nightmare. Check all systems. Find out what's wrong. His crew worked frantically, but the answer was always the same. Their jump drives were not broken, but something was preventing them from working. Some kind of field was surrounding the entire area, blocking their escape. "Commander," the science officer called out, "I'm reading massive energy spikes throughout the system. Whatever is hiding those other ships, it's getting stronger." Han-Wu watched the alien fleet's panic with no joy. He did not like seeing anyone afraid, even enemies, but sometimes fear was necessary to prevent bigger problems. "Captain," Ji-won said, "they're trying to leave but can't." "Should we explain about the hyperspace inhibitor field?" "In a moment. First, let's show them what they're really facing." Han-Wu pressed a button on his chair. "All ships, this is Defiance. Execute Revelation Protocol." Suddenly, the empty space around the alien fleet began to change. Ships appeared. Out of nowhere, big ships. Ships that made even the largest alien vessel look small. They had been there all along, hidden by advanced cloaking systems. The alien sensors went crazy. Where there had been one small human ship, there were now 30 massive vessels. Each one was twice the size of Zethkar-S flagship. They were sleek and modern, covered with weapon systems that the aliens couldn't even identify. "By the void," Zethkar whispered. "How many of them are there?" His science officer was counting frantically. 32 ships, Commander. All of them bigger than anything in our fleet. All of them using technology I can't understand. The human ships moved with impossible grace, surrounding the alien fleet in perfect formation. They didn't look threatening exactly, but their message was clear. The aliens were completely outnumbered and outclassed. Han-Wu's voice came over the communication system again, speaking to the entire alien fleet. "Commander Zethkar, you came here to conquer human space. You brought 800 ships too. Fight what you thought was one primitive vessel. Now you see the truth? You are surrounded by the human defense fleet. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your ships cannot escape. What happens next is entirely up to you." Fleet Commander Zethkar looked at the 32 human ships surrounding his fleet and felt his world falling apart. For 30 years he had been the hunter. Now suddenly he was the prey. "Commander," his communications officer said with a shaking voice, "what should we tell them?" Zethkar did not answer immediately. He was thinking about all the worlds his fleet had conquered, all the species that had begged for mercy, all the times he had laughed at weak enemies who thought they could fight the mighty Kitherian Empire. Now he understood how those enemies had felt. "Sir?" the communications officer asked again. "Tell them ... double quote," Zethkar started, then stopped. What could he say? That he was sorry? That this was all a mistake? He had never apologized to anyone in his life. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Han-Wu waited patiently. He knew the aliens were confused and scared. Good. Fear would make them think more carefully about their choices. "Captain," said Weapons Officer Ji-won, "I'm reading weapon charges on some of their ships. I think some of them want to fight." "Let them try," Han-Wu replied calmly. "Sometimes people need to learn lessons the hard way." Chief Engineer Taeho was monitoring the alien fleet on his sensors. "Captain, their technology is really old. Their ships are big, but they're mostly empty space and thick armor. Our weapons could cut through them like paper." "But we won't," Han-Wu said firmly. "We're not here to destroy them. We're here to teach them." Navigator Sujin looked up from her station. "Captain, 3 of their ships are breaking formation. They're moving toward us with weapons charged. I see them." "G1, prepare a demonstration. Use minimum power. Target their weapons only." "Yes, Captain." Targeting their main gun systems now. The 3 alien ships that had broken away from the main fleet were smaller warships. Their commanders had decided that dying in battle was better than surrendering to primitives. They charged toward the Defiance with all weapons firing. Plasma beams and missile salvos flew toward the human ship. Just like before, all the weapons simply stopped working when they got close to the Defiance. But this time the humans fired. Back 3 thin beams of blue light shot out from the Defiance. They moved so fast that the alien ships had no time to dodge. The beams hit the 3 ships with perfect accuracy, but instead of destroying the ships, something much more frightening happened. The alien weapons simply disappeared. Not exploded, not damaged, they were gone. Clean cuts appeared in the hulls, where the weapon systems used to be. The gun turrets, missile launchers, and plasma cannons were surgically removed from the ships without harming anything else. The 3 alien ships drifted in space, completely helpless. Their hulls had perfect, round holes where their weapons used to be. Their crews were alive and unharmed, but their ships could no longer fight. "Impossible," whispered one of the alien captains. "They cut out our weapons without touching anything else." "How did they do that?" "On the Defiance, U-1 checked her targeting system." "Perfect hits, Captain. All weapon systems removed. No casualties. The crews are all safe." "Good work," Hyun-woo said. "Now they understand what we can do." Back on the alien flagship, Zethkar stared at the 3 helpless ships. His science officer was scanning them frantically. "Commander, this is incredible. The humans used some kind of precision cutting beam. They removed only the weapon systems. The life support, engines, and crew quarters are completely untouched. I've never seen accuracy like this." Zethkar realized something terrible. The humans could have destroyed those 3 ships completely. Instead, they chose to only disable them. They were showing mercy, but they were also showing exactly how helpless the alien fleet really was. "Open a channel to the human captain," Zethkar ordered. "Channel open, Commander." "Human Captain, I am Fleet Commander Zethkar of the Kitherian. Empire, you have made your point. Your weapons are far beyond anything we have seen. But we are warriors, we do not surrender easily." Captain Hyun-woo's voice came back calm and patient. "Commander, I understand that you are warriors, but this is not about fighting anymore. This is about choosing what kind of future you want." "What do you mean?" "Your empire conquers weak civilizations because you can. You destroy anyone who cannot fight back. But what happens when you meet someone stronger than you? What happens when you become the weak ones?" Zethkar did not like this question. "We have always been the strongest. The Kitherian Empire has never been defeated." "Until today," Hyun-woo replied simply. The words hit Zethkar like a physical blow. It was true. His mighty fleet was completely helpless against these humans. For the first time in Kitherian history, they had met someone they could not defeat. "What do you want from us?" Zethkar asked. "I want you to think," Hyun-woo said. "Think about all the species you have conquered. Think about all the worlds you have destroyed. Think about all the people who begged you for mercy, just like you." "Might beg us now," Zethkar felt anger rising in his chest. "We do not beg, no? Then what would you call it when you ask us to spare your lives?" The alien commander had no answer for that. Around him, his crew was listening to every word. They were all thinking the same thing. They were completely at the mercy of these humans. Just like all their victims had been at their mercy, Captain Hyun-woo continued speaking. "Commander, we could destroy your entire fleet in about 5 minutes. Our weapons are that much better than yours. But we don't want to do that. We're not conquerors like you. We're defenders." "Defenders of what?" "Defenders of the idea that different species can live together in peace. Defenders of the weak against the strong. Defenders of civilizations that just want to exist without being conquered or destroyed." Zethkar looked around his bridge. His officers were listening carefully to the human captain's words. Some of them looked thoughtful. Others looked confused. None of them looked like the confident warriors they had been an hour ago. "You speak of peace," Zethkar said. "But you have weapons that could destroy planets. You have technology that makes our greatest warships look like toys. If you are so peaceful, why do you have such terrible weapons?" "Because sometimes peaceful people need to fight monsters," Hyun-woo replied. "Because sometimes the only way to protect the innocent is to be stronger than those who would hurt them. Because sometimes the only language that bullies understand is force." The alien commander felt those words like arrows. He knew what the human was saying. The Catherian Empire were the bullies. They were the monsters. And now they had met someone strong enough to stop them. What happens now? Zethkar asked quietly. Now, you have a choice, Captain Hyan-Woo said. You can try to fight us and die like warriors. Or you can live and learn to be something better than conquerors. And if we choose to fight, then in 5 minutes your fleet will be space dust and we'll send another fleet to your homeworlds to make sure they understand that the age of Catherian expansion is over. Zethkar felt cold fear in his chest. These humans were not bluffing. They had the power to destroy everything he cared about. His empire, his people, his entire civilization could be ended by these strange aliens who talked about peace while carrying weapons that could crack moons. And if we choose to live, then we talk. We learn about each other. We find a way for your people to exist without destroying others. We find a way to turn enemies into something better. The bridge was completely quiet. Everyone was waiting for their commander's decision. Zethkar looked at his officers, his friends, his loyal crew. He thought about his family back on the homeworld. He thought about billions of Catherians who had no idea that their mighty fleet was trapped and helpless in this empty corner of space. I need time to think, Zethkar said finally. You have 1 hour, Captain Hyan-Woo replied. Choose wisely, Commander. This decision will affect not just you, but your entire species. Fleet Commander Zethkar sat alone in his private quarters staring at a picture of his family. His wife and 2 children smiled at him from the hologram. They lived on the capital world of the Catherian Empire, safe and happy because their fleet was strong and their enemies were weak, but now everything had changed. Now his fleet was the weak one. A soft knock came at his door. Enter, Zethkar said. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Veltar, walked in. She was young and smart, and Zethkar trusted her completely. Her face showed the same confusion and fear that everyone felt. Commander, the crew is asking questions. They want to know what we're going to do. Zethkar put down the picture. What do you think we should do, Veltar? I don't know, sir. This has never happened before. In all our history, we have never been defeated like this. We don't even know how to surrender properly. Maybe that's the problem, Zethkar said quietly. Maybe we never learned how to surrender because we never thought we would need to. Veltar sat down across from her commander. Sir, I've been thinking about what the human captain said. About us being bullies, about us destroying innocent people. And I remember the Zilani system. We conquered it 3 years ago. The Zilani people were peaceful. They had no weapons, no army. They just wanted to trade and explore space. But we destroyed their cities anyway because they wouldn't become our slaves. Zethkar nodded slowly. He remembered that battle too. It had been easy and quick. The Zilani had begged for mercy, but the Empire needed new worlds and new slaves. So they had taken everything and left the Zilani with nothing. I remember, he said. I gave the order to destroy their capital city myself. How many others were there like that, sir? How many peaceful worlds did we destroy just because we could? Zethkar did not want to think about that question. But he could not stop the memories from coming, world after world. Species after species, all of them weaker than the Catherian Empire. All of them begging for mercy that never came. Too many, he whispered. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Hyan-Woo was talking to his officers. They were planning what to do next, depending on what the aliens decided. If they choose to fight, said Weapons Officer G1, how long will it take to disable their entire fleet? Chief Engineer Teho checked his systems. About 4 minutes, Captain. Our targeting computers have already identified all their critical systems. We can disable every ship without killing anyone. And if they choose to surrender? Navigator Sujin looked up from her station. Then we have a much bigger problem, Captain. What do we do with 800 alien warships and their crews? We can't just let them go home. Why not? Asked Communications Officer Yunho. Because they'll just build more ships and try again, one explained. Or they'll attack someone else who can't defend themselves. Captain Hyan-Woo nodded. This was the hardest part of the plan. It was easy to defeat enemies. It was much harder to turn enemies into friends. We'll have to take them to the neutral zone, he decided. Let the Galactic Council deal with them. Maybe they can learn to be peaceful. Captain, Sujin said, we're getting a transmission from one of their smaller ships. Not the flagship. Put it through. A new alien voice came over the speakers. It sounded younger and less confident than Commander Zethkar. Human ship, this is Captain Kethra of the Catherian vessel Bloodfang. I want to talk to your captain. This is Captain Hyan Wu. What do you want to discuss, Captain Kethra? I want to know about your offer. About learning to be something better than conquerors. Is that offer real? Hyan Wu looked at his officers. This was unexpected. Yes, Captain Kethra. The offer is real. Why do you ask? Because I'm tired of being a monster. The bridge became very quiet. Even the aliens' own fleet could hear this conversation. Captain Kethra continued speaking. I joined the fleet because I wanted to explore space and meet new civilizations. But all we do is destroy and conquer. I've seen too many innocent people die. I've destroyed too many beautiful worlds. I don't want to do this anymore. Captain Kethra, came another alien voice. This is Fleet Commander Zethkar. Return to formation immediately. Do not speak to the humans without my permission. No, sir, Kethra replied. I won't follow those orders anymore. Human captain, if your offer is real, I accept it. I don't want to be a conqueror anymore. More alien voices joined the conversation. Ship after ship began calling in to the human fleet. This is Captain Mortis of the Iron Claw. I also accept your offer. Captain Yulton of the Death Strike here. I want to learn about peace. Avoid Hunter requesting permission to surrender and learn. Within minutes, over 100 Catherian ships had broken away from their main fleet. They were requesting permission to surrender and learn about peace. Their commanders were tired of being killers on the flagship. Fleet Commander Zethkar watched in shock as his fleet fell apart. Ship after ship was leaving his command and asking the humans for mercy. Sir, Sub-Commander Veltar said quietly, maybe they have the right idea. This is mutiny, Zethkar replied, but his voice had no strength in it. No, sir, this is hope. Captain. Han Wu was surprised by how many aliens wanted to surrender. He had expected maybe a few ships, but not over 100. These alien warriors were tired of war. All Catherian vessels requesting surrender, he said over the open channel. Please. Move to the coordinates that Navigator Sujin is sending you now. Stay together and power down your weapons. We will arrange for proper discussions soon. The alien ships that wanted to surrender began moving to the designated area. They turned off their weapons and waited peacefully. It was a strange sight. Warships built for conquest sitting quietly in space, like students waiting for class to begin, but not all the alien ships surrendered. More than 700 ships remained with Fleet Commander Zethkar. These crews were not ready to give up their warrior ways. They had spent their whole lives believing that strength was everything and weakness was death. Commander, Veltar said, what about the rest of us? What about the ships that won't surrender? Zethkar looked at his loyal officers. These people had followed him through dozens of battles. They trusted him to lead them, but where could he lead them now? I don't know, he admitted. The humans are stronger than us. Much stronger. If we fight, we die. If we surrender, we lose everything we ever believed in. Maybe what we believed in was wrong, Veltar suggested carefully. Don't say that. Zethkar shouted, the Catherian way is strong. We are warriors. We are conquerors. We don't bow to anyone. But even as he said the words, Zethkar knew they sounded hollow. His mighty fleet was trapped and helpless. His empire's greatest weapons were useless. All his strength and all his pride meant nothing against these strange humans who talked about peace while carrying weapons that could destroy worlds. The hour was almost up. Soon he would have to make his choice. Fight and die like a warrior, or surrender and live like a defeated enemy. Neither choice felt like victory. Sir, his communications officer called out, the human captain is requesting a private channel, just between you and him. Zethkar sighed deeply. Put him through. Commander Zethkar, came Captain Hyan Wu's calm voice, your time is almost. Up, have you made your decision? I have one question first, human. If we surrender, what happens to us? Do we become your slaves? Do you destroy our homeworlds? Do you eliminate our entire species? No, Commander. We help you find a better way to live. Fleet Commander Zethkar stared at the communication screen, looking into the calm eyes of Captain Hyun-woo. The human captain did not look angry or threatening. He looked patient, like a teacher waiting for a student to understand a difficult lesson. Help us find a better way to live? Zethkar repeated. What does that mean exactly? It means teaching your people that there are other ways to be strong besides conquering others. It means showing you how to build instead of destroy. It means giving you a chance to become something your children can be proud of. Zethkar thought about his own children back home. What would they think if they knew their father had been defeated by aliens who refused to kill him? What would they think if they learned that everything their empire stood for was wrong? Captain Hyun-woo, Zethkar said slowly, how do we know? You are telling the truth? How do we know this is not some trick to make us weak so you can destroy us later? Because, Commander, if we wanted to destroy you, we would have done it already. Your fleet has been helpless for over an hour. We could have ended this at any time. That was true, and Zethkar knew it. The humans had shown incredible restraint. Any Catherian commander would have destroyed a helpless enemy fleet immediately. Tell me something, Captain, Zethkar said. Have humans ever been conquered? Have you ever been the weak ones? Captain Hyun-woo was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was sadder. Yes, Commander. Many times. We have been invaded, enslaved, and nearly destroyed by other species. We know what it feels like to be helpless. We know what it feels like to beg for mercy and receive none. Then, why don't you do the same to us? Why don't you make us suffer like you suffered? Because suffering teaches nothing except how to cause more suffering. Because revenge only creates more enemies. Because someone has to choose to break the cycle of violence, and we decided it should be us. Sub-Commander Veltar, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. Commander, may I speak? Zethkar nodded. Captain Hyun-woo, Veltar said, I have a question. If we surrender, if we agree to learn your ways, what happens to our families? What happens to our homeworlds? Nothing. Bad happens to them, Captain Hyun-woo replied. Your families will be safe, your worlds will be protected. We don't punish innocent people for the actions of their leaders. But what about our empire? What about our government? That will have to change. Your empire is built on conquest and slavery. Those things must end. But your people, your culture, your history, all of that can continue in a better way? Zethkar felt something breaking inside his chest. Everything he had believed in, everything he had fought for, was crumbling. But maybe that was not a bad thing. Maybe it was time for something new to be built from the ruins. Captain, he said quietly, if I surrender my fleet to you, what guarantee do I have that you will keep your word? You have the same guarantee that all the species you conquered had when they surrendered to you, Captain Hyun-woo replied. You have to trust that we are better than you were. The words hit Zethkar like a physical blow. All those worlds that had surrendered to his fleet, all those people who had begged for mercy, they had to trust him too. And he had betrayed that trust every single time. On the bridge of the Defiance, Chief Engineer Taeho was monitoring the alien fleet. Captain, I'm reading massive power fluctuations throughout their remaining ships. I think they're having arguments over what to do. Let them argue, Captain Hyun-woo said. This is the most important decision their species has ever made. They should take their time. Weapons Officer G1 looked up from her station. Captain, what if they choose to fight? What if they decide to die rather than surrender? Then we'll stop them as gently as we can. But I don't think they'll choose death. Not after seeing what happened to the ships that already surrendered. Navigator Sujin was watching the surrendered alien ships on her screen. Captain, the aliens, who gave up, are behaving very peacefully. They've powered down all their weapons and are just waiting. Some of them are even sending thank you messages. Good. Fear makes people do stupid things, but hope makes them do better things. Back on the alien flagship, more officers were coming. To the bridge. They all wanted to hear what their commander would decide. The bridge was crowded with aliens who had spent their lives as conquerors but now faced becoming something completely different. "Commander," said his weapons officer, "many of the crew are asking questions. They want to know if we're really going to surrender to primitives." "They're not primitives," Zethkar replied tiredly. "They're more advanced than us. Much more advanced. We just didn't know it. But sir, what about our honor? What about our pride as warriors? What honor is there in being a bully?" Sub-Commander Veltar asked. "What pride is there in destroying people who can't fight back?" The weapons officer looked confused. "But that's what warriors do. The strong rule the weak. That's the natural way, maybe," Zethkar said. "The natural way is wrong." He stood up from his command chair and looked around at all his officers. These people had followed him across the galaxy. They had trusted him to lead them to victory. Now he had to ask them to trust him one more time. "Listen to me, all of you," he said loudly. "I have made my decision. I am going to surrender this fleet to the humans." Some of his officers gasped, others looked angry, a few looked relieved. "But, sir," his weapons officer protested, "we are Catherians." "We don't surrender. We do now," Zethkar replied firmly. "Because the alternative is death. And dead warriors can't protect their families." He turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to the human captain. Make sure the entire fleet can hear. Channel open, Commander." "Captain Hyanwu, this is Fleet Commander Zethkar. I surrender my fleet to you. All remaining Catherian ships will power down their weapons and submit to your authority." There was silence for a long moment. Then Captain Hyanwu's voice came back, warm and respectful. "Thank you, Commander Zethkar. You have made a wise choice. Your courage in choosing peace over pride will save many lives." "What happens now?" Zethkar asked. "Now we begin the hard work of teaching and learning. Your ships will be escorted to a neutral system where representatives from many species will help you understand how civilized worlds interact with each other. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it." Across the Catherian fleet, ship after ship began powering down their weapons. Centuries of warrior tradition were ending in this moment. But something new was beginning too. "Commander," Veltar said quietly, "you did the right thing." "I hope so," Zethkar replied. "I hope our children will forgive us for all the terrible things we did. And I hope they will thank us for finally choosing to stop." On the Defiance, Captain Hyanwu watched as the entire alien fleet surrendered. It was an incredible sight, nearly 800 warships giving up without firing another shot. "Captain," Communications Officer Yunho said, "we're receiving surrender confirmations from all alien vessels. The entire Catherian fleet has laid down their weapons." "Good, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have a lot of new students who need to learn about peace." "And Captain," Jawan added with a smile, "tell them that sometimes the best way to win a war is to convince your enemies that they don't want to fight anymore." Captain Hyanwu nodded. The hardest part was over. Now came the even harder part, turning ancient enemies into future friends. 3 months later, Fleet Commander Zethkar stood on the observation deck of the human ship Defiance, looking out at something he had never seen before. Catherian and human engineers were working together, side by side, repairing damaged alien ships. Former enemies were sharing tools, sharing knowledge, and even sharing jokes. "It's strange, isn't it?" said a voice behind him. Zethkar turned to see Captain Hyanwu approaching. The human captain looked tired, but happy. The past 3 months had been hard work for everyone. "What's strange?" Zethkar asked. "How easy it is to be friends once you stop trying to kill each other." Zethkar almost smiled. 3 months ago, he would have been insulted by such words. Now he understood the wisdom in them. "Captain Hyanwu, I need to ask you something that has been bothering me." "Ask away, Commander." "Why? Did you really spare us?" "The truth this time. Not the speech about breaking cycles of violence." "The real reason," Captain Hyanwu was quiet for a moment, thinking, "because we've been where you were. Not exactly the same, but similar. 50 years ago, humans were conquerors too. We fought wars with other species. We took what we wanted and destroyed what we couldn't use. What changed? We met a species called the Aldery. They were peaceful, wise, and much stronger than us. They could have destroyed every human world in a single day. Instead, they did to us exactly what we did to you. Zethkar was surprised. They offered you a second chance? Yes, and it changed everything. The Aldery taught us that true strength comes from protecting others, not conquering them. They showed us that the greatest victory is turning an enemy into a friend. Where are the Aldery now? Captain Hyan-Woo pointed to the stars. Out there somewhere, still helping young civilizations learn to be better? They told us that someday, when we were wise enough, it would be our turn to help others. I guess that day finally came. Zethkar looked back at the humans and aliens working together. So this is how it works. Each generation teaches the next. Each species that learns passes the lesson forward. That's the idea. Knowledge and wisdom. Shared, not hoarded, peace spread, not war. And if we had chosen to fight instead of surrender? Captain Hyan-Woo's expression became serious. Then we would have stopped you quickly and completely. We would have made sure your empire could never threaten anyone again. But we would have felt sad about it for a long time. Sub-Commander Veltar walked onto the observation deck, carrying a data pad. She looked much happier than she had 3 months ago. Working with the humans had given her hope for the future. Commander, she said to Zethkar, I have the latest reports from the homeworlds. Good news or bad news? Mostly good. The new government is working well. The slave worlds have been freed and are governing themselves. Trade agreements are being signed instead of conquest orders, and the people seem to like the changes. Any problems? Some of the old military leaders are unhappy. They say we've made the empire weak, but the young Catherians support the new ways. They're excited about exploring space to learn instead of conquer. Captain Hyan-Woo nodded approvingly. Change is always hard for the older generation, but the young ones adapt quickly. Captain, Zethkar said, what about my fleet? What about the ships and crews that surrendered with me? Many of them are already serving on human ships as exchange officers. They're learning our methods and teaching us about Catherian engineering. Some of your people are excellent navigators, and your armor technology is actually quite good. Veltar smiled. Captain Kethra from the Bloodfang is now serving on a human exploration vessel. She says it's the most fun she's ever had. Instead of destroying new worlds, she gets to study them and learn from them. And the others? About half of your fleet has been converted into exploration and research vessels. They're mapping new star systems and making peaceful contact with unknown species. The other half will become the new Catherian Defense Force to protect your worlds, not attack others. Zethkar felt a warmth in his chest that he had never experienced before. For the first time in his life, he was proud of what his people were becoming instead of ashamed of what they had been. Captain Hyan-Woo, he said, I want to ask you for something. A favor. What kind of favor? I want to serve on a human ship. I want to learn everything you can teach me about being a protector instead of a conqueror. And someday, when I'm wise, enough, I want to help other species the way you helped us. Captain Han-Woo extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. Commander, it would be an honor to have you serve aboard the Defiance. Zethkar shook the human's hand. It felt strange but good. 3 months ago, these hands had been enemies. Now they were partners working toward the same goal. There's something else? Veltar said, looking at her datapad. We've received a message from a species called the Draconi Empire. They're threatening to invade the Zilani system, the one we conquered 3 years ago? Zethkar felt anger rising in his chest. But it was a different kind of anger than before. This was not the anger of a warrior looking for a fight. This was the anger of a protector seeing innocence threatened. The Zilani are peaceful people, he said. They have no weapons, no army. The Draconi will destroy them just like we did to so many others. What do you suggest we do? Captain Hyan-Woo asked. We stop them, Zethkar said firmly. We go to the Zelani system and protect the people there. We show the Draconi that the galaxy has changed, that bullies will not be tolerated anymore, even if it means fighting your own kind. Even if the Draconi are similar to what Catherians used to be. Zethkar thought about this carefully. Especially then, because I know what it's like to be on both sides now. I know what it's like to be the bully and what it's like to be helpless, and I know which one I want to be. Captain Hyanwu smiled. Then let's go save the Zelani. And maybe we'll get lucky and the Draconi will listen to reason like you did, and if they don't listen, then we'll give them the same choice we gave you. Surrender and learn or be stopped permanently. Veltar looked excited. Commander, this will be the first time Catherians fight to protect others instead of conquer them. Our people will finally have something to be truly proud of. 3 hours later, the combined human and Catherian fleet was traveling toward the Zelani system. Former conquerors and their former enemies work side by side, preparing to protect innocent people from a new threat, on the bridge of the Defiance. Commander Zethkar stood at the navigation station next to Sujin, learning how human ships plotted courses through space. It was more complex than Catherian methods, but also more efficient. Commander, Captain Hyanwu said, are you ready for your first mission as a protector? Zethkar looked around the bridge at humans and Catherians working together with perfect cooperation. He thought about his children back home, who would grow up in a galaxy where different species helped each other instead of destroying each other. He thought about the Zelani people, who would soon learn that not all powerful fleets came to conquer. Yes, Captain, he said with confidence. I'm ready to be something better. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying former enemies who had become friends, heading toward a world that needed protection. Behind them, they left the old ways of conquest and domination. Ahead of them lay a future where strength was used to defend the weak, where different species worked together, and where even the most unlikely enemies could become the closest allies. The galaxy was learning that sometimes the greatest victory was giving your enemy a second chance to be better.